Welcome to the phenomenal game of life. I truly believe that life is really like a video game in so many ways. You get to explore this incredibly vast and beautiful landscape around you. You meet interesting characters, maybe a few love interests along the way. You partake in various main missions, and if you're like me, you spend way too much time indulging in the side quests, playing card games, and doing absolutely nothing but enjoying your time, going on all these additional missions that may not be so conducive to the main plot, but it's a hell of a lot of fun to do them anyways. And as far as we know, it's a game that you only get to play one time. And so it's in your best interest to play this game of life as fully as you possibly can without as many regrets as you possibly can. And like any decent gamer worth his salt, I have been trying for the longest time to find the optimal way to play this game of life. I've been looking for the cheat codes, so to speak. And in order to find these cheat codes to life, I have searched high and low. I've read every book that you can absolutely imagine. I have taken courses. I have had life experience. I've done all these things and all of these various challenges in order to figure out what is the answer, the secret cheat code for the gameplay of life. And don't get me wrong, most of these practices held incredible, insane amounts of value to them. They changed my life, in all honesty. But the problem is, nobody has enough time in a day to do all of these various practices. I mean, unless you are the guy who's finally figured out time travel and has endless hours in a day, you can't wake up in the morning and decide, you know what, I'm going to spend 2 hours meditating, and then after that I'm going to do like an hour of yoga, maybe practice some Tai Chi, get the energy moving in my body, and then an hour after that I'll spend a couple hours in nature, basking in the glory of silence, doing breathing techniques and mantras. And in the meantime, I heard about this letting go technique by David Hawkins, so I'll spend like a few hours processing all the emotions I have. There's just so much craziness going on around us, and it becomes very difficult to get very serious and narrow down on the practices that are actually going to change our lives and actually find the time to do these practices so that they can have an effect on our lives. One needs to be able to perform small yet consistent daily habits so that these practices can grow over time and eventually become a staple and a consistent thing in your daily life. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my one simple and powerful strategy that I've created over these years by taking advice from various leaders and various books and various philosophies on life. And I've combined all of these amazing practices into one simple yet incredibly effective practice so that you can use these cheat codes to play this game of life to the absolute fullest and die with having as little regrets as humanly possible. So here is the simple 6-step process that I follow on a daily, hourly, even minutely basis. And you can do all 6 of these steps all together at one time in a nice flowing manner. And this shouldn't take you more than 1 to maybe 5 minutes to do. The first step in the process is to breathe and fully relax your body. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, fully relax your body from head to toe. The great spiritual leader Eckhart Tolle once said that if he had to choose one practice and one practice alone that would be of best benefit to you gaining enlightenment or waking up or even just peace of mind, right? He said that he would choose the simple art and practice of breathing. And for me, this incredibly simple practice allows one to connect back to their body. That brings them back into the experience in which they currently find themselves. Before any of these other steps are going to help you, you need to come back to this present moment. And the best way to do that is to gain body awareness. It's to get out of this mind-driven machine that is constantly running at 1,000 miles per hour, keeping you stressed thinking about the past, the future, and everything in between, so that you can finally come back to the only moment that ever matters, which is the present moment. But I find that a common problem for me and potentially for many other people is that we almost stress out about being in the present moment. We know that we need to live in this thing called the now, but we do it in such a way that is tense, that is forced. We almost feel like, okay, be present, be present, be present. Can't get distracted again. Can't become unconscious. And then when you become unconscious, you slap yourself and you beat yourself up because you lost the present moment. And this is not the ideal way to operate in the world. You don't want to be this tense video game character walking around trying to slash the zombies, right? You're not going to be effective. And so a good way to combat this, as mentioned in this process, is to simply allow your body to fully relax on the out breath. This practice also has the added benefit of reminding you to let go to surrender to the current experience of your life. Because as you may know, it is in the act of surrendering, of being at peace with this moment as it is. That is the most effective way you can show up in this world. You turn presence into your natural state of being, this natural bliss that just happens all on its own. And you continuously remind yourself that, hey, life is a game. A lot of the stuff is out of my control. And it's not always my job to fix everything around me, but it is my job to relax and to enjoy the experience of being present in this game as much as I possibly can. Step 2 in the process is to simply detach and watch your thoughts and your feelings. It's to be the observer of your experience so that, again, you are not attached to these mind states that you might find yourself in. Because the fundamental lesson that I and so many others have learned is the simple fact that you are not your thoughts and you are not your feelings. Many times in our lives, our thoughts are random and they just happen, right? You'll be walking around having a beautiful day and all of a sudden this thought will just hit you that says, you're not good enough. You can't be at peace right now. You need to be doing something else. And that thought usually ends up in you experiencing a related emotion, usually something that's not so nice. And the major problem with humanity, at least as far as I can tell, is that people are walking around like robots. They are continuously on autopilot, living their lives through these thoughts and through these emotions as if they were them. But they aren't. And to change this problem, to finally become aware of life as it is, to become aware of ourselves and these uncontrollable things that happen to our bodies and our minds on a daily basis, the first step is to realize that you cannot change what you aren't aware of. Because as long as you identify with the anger, as long as you identify with the stress, the anxiety, the pressure, you name it, you will always be acting as this emotion or this thought's slave. And that is not what you want to live a joyful and present life. And so when you finally learn to take a step back, I love taking a step back, right? You literally can. You can actually take a step back in your body and just watch. Just ask yourself the question, what was on my mind a few minutes ago? What was I thinking about? And watch that thought from a third-party perspective, as though you were literally the player watching the TV of your character in the video game. Observe yourself as though you were a character in a video game, but don't attach to what that character is going through. When your character in the video game is fighting monsters and slaying dragons and sleeping with gorgeous princesses, you may be somewhat experiencing the emotions of the character, but it's not the same. You are not identified fully with that fear. And so you aren't sitting on the couch playing a game, panicking and sweating and like really worried about the future because you know it's a game. Because you have simply stood back and detached yourself from this character. The truth is, if you played a video game the same way you played life, you'd be effortless. Your actions would just take care of themselves. You wouldn't be so stressed about these thoughts and these feelings of the tumultuous world going on around you. You'd be able to act effectively. Once you have detached from these thoughts and these emotions, and you see them clearly for what they are, this doesn't always mean that these feelings or these thoughts are not going to have some kind of emotional hold over the sensations in your body. And the problem is that no matter how hard you try to outthink your problem, no matter how hard you try to look at a thought or a feeling objectively without it taking over you, the truth is that you will never allow these feelings to get processed fully, and you'll never allow these ever-changing thoughts and emotions to pass through you if you don't learn how to fully accept and surrender to them. And this brings me to step number 3, which is to fully feel and embrace the emotions and the thoughts that you are currently having. And I know that this sounds incredibly paradoxical and not what you've been taught on every other self-improvement / spirituality video, right? You've been told to outthink the problem, to solve it, to do things to escape these negative feelings and these negative mind states. But you are doing something that is extremely counterproductive, because it is only when you are fully willing to accept the current state that you are in right this minute, it's only then that those emotions and those negative moods will simply allow themselves to flow and pass right through. Because again, these thoughts and these feelings are temporary, they come and they go, but you, my friend, unfortunately and unknowingly keep these things trapped inside yourself, because what we resist, unfortunately, persists. The story of the Buddha's awakening gives us so much insight into this incredibly powerful process of allowing one's thoughts and feelings so that we can naturally find peace and happiness. As the Buddha meditated under the now famous Bodhi tree in order to find this thing called enlightenment and eternal bliss. Legend has it that this spirit, known as Maya, would continuously show up and trouble the Buddha in any way that Maya possibly could. Sometimes Maya would show up in the form of fear, of anxiety, of pressure. Maya would show up as soldiers ready to burn the town down. Maya would show up as an unwanted guest, an annoying one at that would continuously pester and irritate the Buddha to the best of Maya's ability. At other times, Maya would show up as a gorgeous seductress, trying to sway the Buddha with sex and charm and good looks. Maya would show up as candy, as chocolates, as delectables, anything in order to move the Buddha in either a positive or negative way. And so what did the Buddha do? Unlike us, who would probably fight tooth and nail to push away and force down and suppress these negative emotions, or attempt to cling and grasp and indulge in all the positive emotions, the Buddha would simply allow Mara in for a cup of tea and allow Mara to stay as long as Mara wanted. By the way, the reason I'm saying Mara so much is because I don't really know if Mara was a woman, a man, a spirit. I don't know. This is just legend. And every time Mara would come in for a cup of tea with the Buddha, eventually and after a bit of time, Mara would leave all on their own. And then Mara would come back and then leave again. But no matter what, the Buddha would always invite Mara in for tea and allow this spirit or this person to stay for as long as Mara needed to. And eventually, when Mara did flee for the final time, that is when the Buddha attained enlightenment. And he was finally free of the shackles of positive and negative mind states and emotions. Will you simply allow Mara to exist in whatever way Mara wants to so that it can eventually leave and allow you to reside in the place that never changes, the place of stillness, the place of peace, and the place of happiness. Now it's time to plant some seeds that are going to help you thrive. Some cheat code seeds that are going to help you live life to the absolute fullest. And it's in step number 4 that we do an incredibly simple yet incredibly effective perspective mantra. And this is the mantra that I say to myself and I program into my subconscious mind. The game is done. The players are dead. Be who you truly want to be. This mantra reminds me of some incredibly powerful philosophies that I personally subscribe to in my own life. Number 1, the game is done. Or in other words, control is simply an illusion. Now, we're not going to get into a vast discussion of free will right now. I will save that for a later video. I truly believe that life is meant to be experienced and enjoyed, and it's not meant to be fixed all the damn time. Because the sad truth, as many of you may have realized through hard-earned experience, you can't control everything. You can't control the mind states and the feelings and the reactions of other people. You can't control the weather. You can't control a lot of the stuff that is going around and that is happening to you on a daily basis because you're not God. And I personally find that for me, when I am in this mindset of control, fix, take care of, analyze, right? That only makes me a lot more miserable than I need to be. And I'm not saying that planning isn't effective and useful. I plan when I need to. But when I get consumed in this mindset of fix, I end up being miserable and I don't enjoy this wonderful game that is continuously happening all around me. And it's when I forget that perspective, that life is a game, it's over, it's been done, and that the ending is probably already set. There is a destiny that I will experience. Instead of fighting tooth and nail to that inevitable end, which for all of us is most likely death, right? So I get to decide for myself, am I going to enjoy this? Am I going to spend every waking minute of my life trying to control the state of affairs? Or am I going to treat this whole thing like a beautiful game and enjoy and milk and savor the experience as much as I possibly can? I don't know about you, but I choose the latter. Now, the players are dead sounds very dark. It sounds very weird. Like, the players are dead. Like, why would you even consider the death of everybody around you? I do this weird and nihilistic practice because it reminds me about how precious life is, how precious the people are around me, and that I should honestly start to be more appreciative, more kind, and more loving to the people that are in my life right now. It also has the added benefit of allowing me to be more relaxed around people, because no matter how important I think somebody is, no matter how scared I am of a certain individual, no matter how much I look down or love a human being, at the end of the day, they're all going to die, right? They're all only here on a temporary basis. I shouldn't pedestalize somebody. I shouldn't fear anybody, because at the end of the day, we're all the same. And we all deserve love, respect, and kindness, and a little bit of humble pie every now and again. And these 2-part mantras allow me to experience the third and to remind myself to live the third, which is to be who I truly am, to live without fear, without restraint, without anxiety of the future, without concern for the past. Because this is my one life, and this is my character model that I've been given to live it through. And so it would be futile and a waste of my precious time if I wasn't showing up in the world as I truly am and who I truly want to be. And so I encourage you today to ask yourself, what's stopping you from being the man or the woman that you've always wanted to be in your life so that you can finally live this game of life to the utter fullest? And finally, step 5 and step 6 are actually a combined practice depending on what you are doing at any one moment. But essentially, step 5 is to take action in this present moment for the joy of the action in itself. Or step 6 is to fully savor and enjoy the current moment that you find yourself in. Once you've done the previous 4 steps, you might find that you need to take action. You need to get up off your meditation chair, go on about living your life, and actually show up in the world and do something in order to continue your life. But the problem with so many people is that we take action out of, again, fear, out of worry, out of stress, out of mental models, right? We take action for a future goal, for a future enjoyment. We almost sacrifice the present moment as a means to an end. And this is a horrible recipe for happiness and enjoyment of this game of life. I hate to spoil the ending for you, but unfortunately, goals don't tend to make us happy. Because when you achieve a goal, yes, you're blissfully happy for a day, maybe a week, maybe even a month. But once that goal is achieved, you are right back at square one, which is living with yourself. And so if you are only taking action in order to achieve something, gain something, sacrifice for a later stage, everything you do in this present moment will be miserable and you will not enjoy the majority of your life and the majority of this game. Always sacrificing the present moment for another moment in time, for another goal yet to be achieved. And you forget that it is happening right now. This is it. There's no dress rehearsal. This is the game that's meant to be enjoyed. And when you take action for the simple joy of the action in itself, the action, paradoxically, tends to be a lot more effective than if you were to act in a very forceful state. You begin to live in this beautiful flow state where things are just happening and you just find yourself doing those things effortlessly. But sometimes you are not taking action. Maybe you're on the bus on the way somewhere. Maybe you are sitting at home wondering what you're going to be doing for the weekend. You are simply existing inside your human form. I remind myself to savor the experience of right now, because the truth is you don't always need to be doing something in order to prove your value as a human being. And in life, there are going to be many moments of sitting in contemplation, many moments of quote unquote boredom that you'll have to endure. But will you really have to endure it? That's the question. Instead of enduring these painful and seemingly boring moments, why not savor them? Why not look around you, gain a bit of perspective, and open your eyes to the beauty and the magnificence of the scene unfolding before you, and allow yourself to simply enjoy the feeling of being you, of being inside your body, of being inside your home, inside this gorgeous world that we get to experience on a daily basis. I challenge you to try this yourself. In very mundane moments throughout your life, whether it's driving, whether it's taking a shower, instead of allowing your mind to run off at 1,000 miles per hour, simply try to savor that present moment and to fully experience what you are doing in that mundane activity. Using this process will allow you to deal with pretty much any situation you find yourself in. But I know that many of you, like me, have a particular struggle when it comes to peace in relationships, right? We can ground ourselves as much as possible, but it's our relationships, it's our friendships and romantic interests and our family. Those are the things that really tend to rile us up. They tend to give us the hardest time in coming back to that experience of peace and present moment awareness, correct? And it's known that our relationships have the potential to be our greatest challenge, but at the same time, have the possibility of becoming our greatest spiritual practice, if we decide to use it as such. I recently made a video where I give you the steps in order to overcome this problem. And if you want to learn how to use the practices we've shared in this video, and on top of that, learn how to select healthy, loving, and meaningful relationships, then watch this video next. And if all else fails, ask yourself, if life was a game, because it is, how would I play?